Good morning, friends. Myself, Vijay Jadhav. Today, we want to learn the next topic from HPLC. So, in last lecture, we see the basic concept of chromatography and some about the HPLC. Now, in this lecture, we want to learn the different solvents we are using in the HPLC analysis. So, the solvents are classified according to their polarity, and here we are arranging the solvents according to their increasing polarity. So first we want to see the various functional group, that functional group having the different polarity. So we are starting with the less polar functional group to more polar functional group. So here the first functional group is aliphatic hydrocarbons. The aliphatic hydrocarbons having less polarity. Then there is the another solvent that is called as the olefins. Then aromatic hydrocarbons, halides, sulfides, ether, then nitro compounds, then esters, aldehydes, ketones, alcohol, amines, sulfones, sulfoxides, amides, and carboxylic acid. So these are the some functional group according to their increasing polarity. So now we want to see the organic solvents. That solvent we are actually use as a mobile phase. So these mobile phase solvents are also arranged from non-polar to polar as shown in a diagram. So these solvents like hexane. Hexane is the less polar solvent, or it is called as the non-polar solvent. Then there is the increasing polarity. The second solvent is carbon tetrachloride, then ether, then benzene, methylene chloride, THF, isopropanol, chloroform, ethyl acetate, then acetonitrile, methanol, water. So water is the most polar. So this is all about the different functional group with increasing polarity and different organic solvents with increasing polarity. So we can be choose the functional group and respective solvents to analyze the compounds using HPLC. Now we want to see the scope of HPLC. So what is the scope of HPLC? The HPLC contain three types. First is the normal phase. Second, it is the reverse phase, and next that is the ion exchange. So the HPLC is used to analyze the non-polar compound. HPLC is analyzed to non-ionic and polar compound, and HPLC is also used for the ionic compound. As well as HPLC is used for analyze water soluble compounds, and in some fractions it may be applied for the sparingly water soluble compounds. So overall the HPLC is applicable to the number of compounds that are non-polar, polar and ionic in nature. So it's having the versatile applications. Now we want to see the instrumentation of HPLC. So if we see the HPLC having a number of parts, but if we see the list of parts of HPLC, we are starting with reservoir, then next is the tubing, then next is the degasser, after that premixer, then pump, after that column, pump, then injector, then column, and then detector and fractional collection. So these are the basic parts of HPLC. Okay, but if we see in core structure, then the main parts are pump, injector, guard column and detectors. The detector is the main part of instrumentation. For example, we are having the number of detector or popular detectors as photodiode array detector. It is called as the PDA detector. Okay, then next type of the detector, that is LCMS. We see this in details in the next lecture. Okay. Then next detector, that is the light scattering detector for size characterization, and the another detector, that is the reflective index detector, that is measure the reflective index of analyte as well as solvent. But okay, but it is a universal detector but having the less sensitivity. Then the next part we want to learn is basic components. Okay, so the first basic components is pump, and this pump is used to deliver the mobile phase at high pressure, as we are required a driving force for the HPLC to give the high performance, and this driving force it is provided by using the pump. Okay, so this pump deliver the mobile phase at very high pressure up to 10,000 psi. Now the next part we want to learn, that is the injection system. The injection system is very important thing that is required to introduce the sample. As we know, the pump is providing very high pressure, and in that high pressure we want to introduce the sample without disturbing or without reducing the pressure, and that's why we require a special injection system to introduce the sample, and this system is known as a Reodyne system. Then the next is column. The column is the most important part, that is used for the separation of compounds. Okay, so the column is required according to the need of compound you want to separate, like ODS column, OD column, C8 column, cyano column, or nitride column. So these are the number of types of the columns we are used according to the our need. So this column is also called as heart of the system. Then the next part, it is called as detector. Detector is the most important part because it is detecting the separated compounds, and that's why this detector is having a very crucial role into the analysis. Then the next part, it is the data system. That data system is used to collect the data. Then various controllers we are using in the instrument. Then the signal processors that process the signals given by the detector. So this is the another system that is required along with these specific parts. Now the possible configuration of HPLC. So as we see, what are the possible configurations of the HPLC is, so first possible, that is the isocratic system. Isocratic system means we are using a single solvent or a fixed combination of solvents. That means if we are taking water as a solvent 100%, so this is the single solvent, so we call it as the isocratic system. Otherwise, if we are using the fixed combination of water as to methanol, if we are taking the water 80% and methanol 20%, okay, so by combining the 800 ml of water and 200 ml of methanol, combined solution is 1000 ml. So this 1000 ml solution, if we are using, okay, so this solution is called as the isocratic system, because we are not vary the composition of mobile phase during the analysis. It is fixed, and so this is called as the isocratic system. Now next system may be possible, that is a low pressure gradient system. Low pressure gradient system means we are mixing the mobile phase according to our need prior to pump. That means if I require a combination of 1:1:1, that means one proportion of methanol, one proportion of acetonitrile, and one proportion of water. So if I require these three proportion, and we are mixing this proportion prior to pump, so this type of the multi mobile phase system, it is called as the gradient system, and it is mixed prior to pump, so it is called as the low pressure gradient system, because at that time the mixing pressure is very low, okay, before the pump. So this is called as the low pressure gradient system. Then next is the high pressure gradient system. That means each mobile phase is forcefully pumped by using the pump into a mixer, and various compositions are pumped according to the series of valve, and such a type of mixing, it is called as high pressure gradient system, because this type of the mixing, it is achieved by using under the high pressure with the help of pump. So these are the three possible configurations of the HPLC, that is the isocratic system, and another is the gradient system. Isocratic system means it is the system in which a single or a fixed composition of mobile phase is used. Another system is the gradient. The gradient system means in that system the mobile phase is used with the vary in composition during the analysis. So it again classified into low pressure gradient system and high pressure gradient system. Okay. So this is the diagrammatic representation of isocratic and gradient system. So in isocratic system, as you show, there is the fixed combination with respect to time, and in gradient system the combination or the percentage of the system get changed with respect to time. Okay, so this is the basic difference between isocratic and gradient system. Now elution method. So the low pressure gradient pump, here the four reservoirs are used with the one pump, and they are pre-mixed. The mixing is done before the pump, so they called as the low pressure gradient pump. Okay, then next, that is the pump, then injector, column, then to control the temperature of the column there is the column movement, then detector, data processing. So in short, there is one pump used to control four reservoirs. Mixing is done before the pump, and online degassing is necessary. So most important thing is that the mixing is done before the mixing, so it is called as the low pressure gradient system. Now we want to learn the high pressure gradient system. The high pressure gradient system, here it is the excellent gradient accuracy is achieved. Why? We are using the more than one reservoir and more than two pumps or more than one pumps. Okay, so the mixture 2 or 3 pumps is required, one pump per solvent is used, and online degassing may not be critical. Here the pump is pressing or pump is giving high pressure output, and this high pressure output is introduced into the mixer by the special valve, and their special combination is prepared. A fixed combination or variable combination is prepared, and they pass through the injector. After that they pass through the column. The column have equipped with the column oven to maintain the temperature. Then the separated compound is analyzed in the detector, and we are getting the chromatograph. So this is the arrangement of high pressure gradient system. Okay, so as we are seeing the isocratic and gradient system, in isocratic system we are using single pump and single reservoir. In gradient system, at the low pressure we are using a multiple reservoir with the single pump, and in high pressure gradient system we are using multiple reservoir with the multiple pumps. Now the next part we want to learn that differentiate between or the isocritic and gradient chromatography. So the isocritic means all conditions and setting parameters are held constant. In isocritic system we are held all conditions and parameters is kept constant. So such a types of system it is called as the isocritic system. In gradient system, one or more of the parameters are varied constantly. That means in gradient system we can vary one or more parameters. Okay, that parameters can be varied during the analysis with respect to time as per our requirement. Okay, so the typical gradient system is variation of mobile phase and the composition from low to high elution strength. That means in gradient system generally we are vary the mobile phase concentration, and this concentration is vary generally from low concentration to high concentration, so that we can get the we can produce the different strength and the compound can be separated according to this. Okay, and also one can have a temperature or flow gradient. That means we can be vary the temperature, that means the increasing temperature or decreasing temperature, or increasing flow rate or decreasing flow rate. So this is also called as the temperature or flow gradient. So this is about the gradient isocritic and gradient chromatography. Now the next we want to learn that is the mobile phase reservoir and solvent treatment. So the solvent reservoirs are equipped with the spurger and inlet filter. That means whatever the mobile phase we are using, in that mobile phase the solvent reservoirs are equipped with the spurge and inlet filters. That means if the mobile phase we are taking, that mobile phase should be free from air, and that's why we are spurging this mobile phase with inert gases so that it can be displaced the oxidizing gases from it. And also we are using a micro filter or inlet filters so that they can be filter the impurity and the substance that are not dissolved, and also the filter out by a dissolved gases. So such types of the filters, inlet filters, are generally used. The special type of the millipore filtering device to remove the undesired particulate matter is used. In mobile phases, the millipore system or millipore filters are used to remove the undesired particulate matter. Then reservoir may be equipped with some back pressure regulators, okay, so that they can maintain the pressure within the range. So this reservoir is equipped with some back pressure regulators. Then reservoirs are made up from the stainless steel, or it may be made up from the borosilicate glass, with having the different capacity from 500 ml to 1 liter. Reservoirs are having the different capacity. They are in the range of 500 ml to 1 liter and made up from the material like stainless steel, borosilicate, or in some cases it may be the reinforced nylon, and they are coated with the inert layer so that they not interact with the mobile phase. Now the next thing, that is the blending and mixing of the mobile phase components. So the blending or mixing of the mobile phase components it may be carried out at the two stages. First is the low pressure mixing, as we are earlier seen, or the high pressure mixing. If we want to see the high pressure mixing in which the mobile phase component A and mobile phase component B, there is two components. These two components are injected with the help of pump A and pump B. There is a electronic control system, and these two pumps are mixing their mobile phase into a mixing chamber. So this is called as the high pressure mixing, as shown in the diagram. As we are saying that the mobile phase component A, another is the mobile phase component B. The mobile phase component A is pumped by using the pump A into mixing chamber, as well as mobile phase B is pumped by the pump B into the mixing chamber with the help of electronic control system. As we see the low pressure mixing, in that low pressure mixing we are having the mobile phase component A, mobile phase component B, and mobile phase component C. So all these three components are mixed by using a variable valves, and these valves are controlled electronically with the electronic control system, and these are the low pressure. They are mixed into this chamber, mixing chamber, and then they are provided to the pump, so that pump can be pump them into the column. So this type of the arrangement, it is called as low pressure mixing. As we see in the diagram, the low pressure mixing having mobile phase component A, mobile phase component B, mobile phase component C. So these three components are pre-mixed by using a specially operated valves, and then they are mixed with the fixed or particular component into the mixing chamber, and then they are provided for the pump. Then next, the ideal requirement for the pumping device. So the efficiency, the pumping device we are using to provide the high pressure, okay, and that's why the pumping device should be provide the high pressure as we are required, and here the unit or limit is 60 kilo psi, kpsi. Okay, whatever the output we are getting from the pump, it should be pulse free. That means the output we are getting from this pump, it should be pulse free, because if the pulse is produces due to this pulse there is the to and fro mechanism, and due to this mechanism the rigid structure of the column may be break, and that's why we require a pulse free output. Then the pump should be provide a stable output. That means if we are set the flow rate of 0.1 ml, then pumps 1 ml, 0.1 ml or a 1 ml per minute, then the pump should be deliver the same amount of mobile phase with higher accuracy, and it should be reproducible. Okay, so the flow rate variable from 0.1 to 10 ml, and it is reproducible. Then flow control and flow reproducibility is also required, and the pump we are using, it should be corrosion resistance, and it should not be interact with the mobile phase or the components. So these are the some ideal requirements of the pumping device. Then next, about the pumps. Now the pumps having a different types. The first type of the pump, as we are we want to learn, that is the constant pressure pump. The constant pressure pump like gas displacement pumps, then gas amplified pumps. Then the next type of the pump, that is the constant flow pumps. As we know, the constant flow pumps are the reciprocating pumps, then syringe type of the pumps, okay, and series type of the pump. So these are the two major types of the pump. that is the constant pressure pumps in which the gas displacement pumps. Then next is the gas amplified pumps. Then next is the constant flow pumps, that is the reciprocating pumps, and syringe type of the pumps. Now the reciprocating pumps. So this reciprocating pump, this pump, it is consist of a small chamber, that means a small bore. In that small bore the piston is moving to and fro direction, and the liquid is filled and out from this reciprocating pump. Due to the to and fro direction of the piston, the mobile phase is compress and release, and due to this give rise to generation of pulsated flow, and so there is a baseline noise may be occur. As well as in this reciprocating pump, the mobile phase is directly contact with the piston, and that's why it may be causing the corrosion, or it may be causing the contamination. As in this diagram, this is the piston, or it is the reciprocating pump. In that reciprocating pump, the motor is driving a camshaft, and this camshaft is driving the piston. So due to the motion of the motor and with the help of cam, this piston is moved to and fro direction. Okay, so when this piston is moved backward, at that time the mobile phase, this checking valve is open, and the mobile phase is introduced into the chamber. Okay, when the camshaft is pressing the piston is started to press the mobile phase. At that time the check valve at inlet side is get blocked due to the increasing pressure, and the liquid is trying to open the check valve at the point of outward direction, and from here the pressurized liquid, it is outlet, we are getting the outlet from the pump, and the chamber size, it is vary from 5 to 50 microliter. So as shown in the diagram, this is a simple reciprocating pump. So please see the diagram. So how the check valve is open when the filling is there, when plunger is moving, here the outflow is there due to the compressment of the liquid by a piston. Here the motion of motor, now the reciprocating pumps, it's having the number of advantages as shown in the first. It's provide a small internal volume, and due to this we are able to change the solvent at within a very small time, because if the bore volume is large, then it is very quite difficult to measure, it is very quite difficult to vary the composition. Then high output pressure up to the 10 kpsi, low pressure frictions, and very easy to replace other solvents, because it's having the very small bore size, that means very small solvent capacity. Disadvantage is that change the plunger seal required frequently, because this is the moving part. Okay, another disadvantage is that the pulsated outflow is produced. Okay, so these are the some advantages and disadvantages of single plunger reciprocating pump. Now we want to see the dual plunger with the tandem flow line. So this is the next diagram in which we want to see the dual plunger with the tandem flow line. So here is the check valve, the main plunger is there. This main plunger providing the forceful liquid to the second sub plunger. Okay, so the low pressure fluctuation, that is UV and PDA detector, fluorescence detector, are these detectors are required a low pressure fluctuation. The number of maintenance part is less, so this design is suitable for the routine analysis. Okay, so this is the dual plunger with the tandem flow line. So in this a dual plunger system with the parallel flow line, here the plunger 1 and plunger 2, the check valve 1, check valve 2, and this is called as the dual plunger with the parallel flow. So it's having the advantages. It is the very low pressure fluctuation because the two plungers operated simultaneously. One is on, other is the off. One is the to, another is the flow direction, and so there is the less fluctuation in the pressure. Such a types of the dual plunger parallel flow lines injectors or the pumps are used in the refractive index detector, conductivity detectors, electrochemical detectors, and MS detector. The number of maintenance part is more in this dual plunger. Then problems encountered in the pumping liquids. First, degassing. So, heating the liquid until its boiling point so that it can be remove the gases. Second, the vacuum degassing, that means creating the vacuum and removing the dissolved gases. Ultrasonication. Ultrasonication is the another technique to remove the dissolved gases from the system. Then bubbling the steam or the inert gases like helium through the liquid. So these are the some techniques that required for the degassing. If the gas is present in the mobile phase, due to the high pressure, the gas is dissolved in the mobile phase and it is passing through the pump. But when pressure is dropped at the end of detector, they may be bubble out and they are providing the false reading. And that's why it is very essential to remove the mobile phase gases from the system, and that's why degassing technique is used. The next problem, that is the corrosion. When the mobile phase is come into the contact with the direct contact with the pump, it may causes the corrosion, and due to this corrosion, it may be causing the contamination. The another thing, that is the compressibility. Some liquids are having the compressible in nature, okay, and due to this they are providing a different flow rate. So these are the some problems in the pumping